So T1 started out the summer split here 5-2 in the LCK, looking again very strong and like a top contender in the league, alongside Genji of course, and alongside now Hanwha Life and DK that have risen up the ranks as well. T1 even went to the Esports World Cup and won the Esports World Cup, looked very strong in the finals there. And since coming back from that, they have lost 3 straight games. They are now 5-5, and they are not looking very strong at this point, and I'm here to try and figure out why. Let's see if it starts in the draft phase. By the first pick of the entire draft on blue side, you can tell that the problem is in the draft phase, or at least it's starting there. T1 first pick Nidalee. Essentially what they're saying by doing this is they think that Nidalee is the strongest champion available in the entire game. Now I get it, Tristana's banned, Ezreal's banned, Sejuani's banned. A lot of these really strong picks in the current meta are not available on first pick. But there are 160, 150 some odd champions in this game. And you're telling me you legitimately think, as one of the top premier pro teams in the world, you think that Nidalee is the strongest one of them all. And that, my friends, is embarrassing. That, in and of itself, just with this one pick, shows you the problems of T1. It starts in the draft. League of Legends is a game that starts with the champions that you select, the champions that you're going to put your really talented players on to play out this game. And by the first pick Nidalee, you can tell that whoever's making these decisions, whether it's the coaches, the players, or a mix of both, you can tell that they, 1, either don't understand the game, or 2, just flat out don't want to win and are stealing paychecks. It's T1, and I know they want to win. So my guess would be that they just don't understand that Nidalee is useless. And as you can see here, they make things 100% worse with a Renekton on B2, followed up by the Corki. So already through the first phase here, T1 is completely lost. They have completely countering themes, and they have 2 dogmeat useless champions. What I mean by the countering themes is that Nidalee and Renekton are really strong early game, and they want to snowball early game. I'm going to go ahead and pause here after first phase. Nidalee and Renekton want to play together because they're strong in the early game, and Nidalee can have really easy spear hits with the Renekton stun setup. So Nidalee wants to be playing around topside. The problem is that junglers don't actually take advantage of this combo 99% of the time, and they end up kind of just power farming on Nidalee, stealing away a couple camps here and there, and not really playing around the Renekton as well as they should. Renekton as well, especially as a blind pick, is just completely useless. If Hanwha Life pick literally any tank in the game, or Jace, or something like that, to actually counter the Renekton, he's going to be 100% more useless than he regularly is. So right off the bat, with their first 2 picks, T1 are saying that they want to lose the game. Corki is obviously really good. I don't understand why this isn't just the first pick of the draft every single game. Completely broken champion. It makes absolutely no sense why you would take Nidalee over the Corki as a first pick. Also, jungle matchup is actually really important in the meta today. And with so many strong junglers up in this game, like the Brand and the Zyra and the Karthus, Fiddlesticks, I don't understand the priority on Nidalee. It makes absolutely no sense, like I said before. So through the first phase, even though Hanwha Life has Vi, and I think Vi's not great and competitive, but she's 100% more useful than Nidalee, so Hanwha Life is thoroughly ahead through first phase. They have better scaling, they have better team fight and themes. You can tell that they're kind of just going for a basic front-to-back teamfight comp here. I wouldn't be surprised if they just went with something like an Ornn or a tank in the top lane to neutralize the Renekton in lane, and then scale and play effective front line for the Zeri and Taliyah. T1 just don't really have a goal inside of this game. Nidalee's, along with Renekton, is just kind of random. They don't serve a purpose, and as soon as the game hits 20 to 25 minutes, those 2 champions are going to be completely useless. Same thing goes for Vi, really, but at least she has an R key that she can't miss. Nidalee's spears miss 99% of the time, and the champion just doesn't do anything. So through the first phase here, T1 is basically saying, Faker, you're on Corki, and you're our sole hope of winning this game. HLE have a pretty clear way of playing the game, and just straight up better champions. Zeri's really strong right now. I think Talia's a solid champion overall, and Vi is definitely better than Nidalee. She beats the Nidalee in the early 1v1 throughout the entire game, really, and she's going to be more effective in team fights just because she has a point-and-click ult, and Nidalee just literally doesn't do anything. I'm going to go and fast forward to the second phase here. And HLE go ahead and lock in the Jax. This is a fine matchup into the Renekton. Neither champion really has a big advantage in the lane phase, but as soon as Jax hits 1 to 2 items, he's going to start winning that 1v1. And in my opinion, Jax is a really strong side laner, which most pro teams don't really take advantage of, split pushing these days, but as soon as Jax really starts to scale and hits those, level 11 power spike, 2-item power spike, he's really going to start winning that 1v1 against the Renekton. So hopefully they take advantage of that side lane matchup in this game. I haven't actually watched the game, so I don't know if that happened. I'm going to go and pause here so we can see. But either way, the Jax is completely acceptable into the Renekton. It's not what I would have picked personally, but it's fine. It's going to go even to winning in lane. And definitely outscale the Renekton. Jax is also a pretty underrated weak side pick because of his ward hops and his counter-strike. He's actually quite a safe laner, and it's hard to gank him, especially since he can avoid the Renekton stun with his counter-strike. It's going to be hard for Nidalee to find any kind of action in that lane. So in that sense as well, the Jax pick is also very good, because we know that T1 want to play hard toward topside with Nidalee Renekton combo, and Jax really negates a lot of that goal inside of the game. T1 then round out with Kai'Sa Leona, which I suppose is a strong bot lane combo, but again, it's just kind of random. Like, if you look at this team, it doesn't really have a clear goal inside of the game. It's not really focused on front-to-back team fighting. If that were the case, they would have an Ivern in the jungle and a tank in the top lane. They're not going to be winning 5v5s against the draft that HLE has. They're not going to be winning side lanes against Talia and Jax. I don't really understand the thought processes here. I guess maybe T1 really have to play hard toward bot side, abandon the Renekton, and try to snowball dragons early, because they're going to have an advantage in that lane early game. Leona's much better champion than Alistar is, and Zeri is pretty weak in the early lane phase. So if T1 take advantage of the bot lane push, they can maybe snowball some dragons. But then again, Nidalee's usually like to prioritize grubs on top side, and you still have the Renekton. So Nidalee's going to have a really hard time playing this game, because she has a lot of different things that she wants to be able to do, but she's not going to be able to do all of them, meaning that T1's going to really struggle to, pull their jungler in a lot of places, and I feel like they're just going to be lost inside of the game and not really know what to do. Whereas HLE, again, has a pretty clear goal inside this game. The pressure's not on them. T1 is pretty much full early game with their top side, and so as soon as the game hits that 20-25 minute mark where people are starting to get their third item power spikes, HLE is going to immediately have the big advantage and start to win these team fights around objectives. We're going to see Vi just be able to click R on the Kai'Sa or the Corki. Alistar and Jax can follow up. Obviously, you have the Talia Seismic Shove follow up. And as well, T1 doesn't really have a reliable way to get on top of this Zeri or the Talia. Talia's going to have Lifeline Shield on Seraphs and probably Zhonya's to really negate a lot of the Renekton dive. And Zeri is obviously Zeri, who's probably going to have Cleanse for Leona anyways. So she's going to be completely safe the entire game, and no one's really going to be able to hit her. So with the combination HLE have of dive on enemy backline and kite back and safety on their own backline, they're much more set up to play team fights in this game. And even if T1 end up getting the first 2 or even 3 dragons, I think HLE is going to be in a completely fine spot come the 25-minute mark in this game, simply because of the Nidalee and Renekton pick. If the Nidalee was replaced by an Ivern or literally any AP jungler, and the Renekton was replaced by any tank, they would be completely fine in this game, because they could play team fights really easily front to back with frontline and backline scaling, but that's just not the case. The Nidalee's going to have no place in this game, and the same thing with the Renekton. Even if the Renekton gets a couple kills early game, he's still going to get outscaled by Jackson. He's still going to struggle to face him in the side lane, and he's not going to be able to function in team fights whatsoever. So I know this is getting rather repetitive, but the bottom line is that Nidalee should never ever be a first pick. She should never really ever be a pick in competitive period whatsoever. The champ is utterly useless. Same thing goes for Renekton. And this is really indicative of how the game went and how T1 is looking right now. They got 2-0 in this series. I don't know what the second game draft looked like at all, but this draft is utterly atrocious from T1. You can tell from the start that they're pretty lost. They don't know what they're doing. They don't have any priorities or game plans going into the draft, and they don't know how to respond to enemy team picks either. So it's no wonder they lost this game. They actually got completely dunked in this series. HLE is atop the table, along with DK and Genji as well, so they're obviously a strong team. But T1, if they want to be contesting for the LCK title and a world spot later down the line, they're going to really need to get their crap together starting in the draft phase, because again, that's where League of Legends begins, and that's where you can really get an initial advantage over your opponents. And the way they're doing it currently and the way they're playing currently, they're definitely not going to be able to do that. So let me know what you guys think about T1's current play and current drafting in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.